Hello and welcome to The Grove. It is no secret the Riot team has been keeping their MMO project under wraps, but internally I'm sure the game is farther along than most imagine. And because of that, we can watch the Riot team to see if they're hinting at anything. And one was a pretty obvious tell as to a class that's going to be playable in the MMO. After all, Trinimir's Going Dark tweet was in early 2024, and in that tweet he said, "We started laying the groundwork for this pivot some time ago, and over the last year." So this pivot happened in 2022, worked on over 2023, and then the Going Dark tweet went out in 2024. So by the end of 2025, that will be at least 3 full years of work. That's why I think we'll get something in 2025, nothing big, just like a teaser of the name or something. Internal alpha and alpha would be 2026, beta would be 2027, and release would be 2028. Now I'm sure someone in the comment section is going to tell me that it takes 10 years to develop an MMO, when in reality, let's just look at vanilla World of Warcraft, which was a massive undertaking for its time. Back in 1999, it was still just a Warcraft 3 mod. These, what I'm showing you, are literal screenshots from the team developing the game in 1999. There was an announcement trailer in 2001, and then the game was released in 2004. That's 5 years of development. So I expect after 3 years of development, some kind of announcement trailer similar to what World of Warcraft had in 2001, at the least. And that's what I'm hopeful for. If we get anything more than that, I'd be happily surprised. But yeah, if you could say World of Warcraft Vanilla took about 4 to 5 years of development, and the Riot MMO since the pivot has been in development for 3 years. So 3 years, I don't know, I'm hopeful for some kind of update on the project. Like I said, just a title reveal with some VFX in the background, just at least announcing the project publicly. Anything more than that would be insane and I'd be happily surprised. Now, assuming that I'm correct and we're going to get some kind of announcement in 2005, that means that the Riot MMO is farther along than most people think. And because of that, we can look at the people working on the project for hints as to what's going on internally. Who better to look at than Fabrice, who was introduced as the executive producer on the MMO back in the Riot MMO Going Dark tweet from Mark Merrill. Now Necrit, League of Legends lore master.
That's because it requires a very niche skill to be utilized. Reading.
Watched the Bite Mark cinematic and probably thought, damn, these Noxian Blood Mages look awesome. And so tweeted out, who's playing a Blood Mage in the Riot MMO? And Fabrice, executive producer on the MMO, responded with side eyes. Now listen, some people are going to say this doesn't mean anything, but if you are the executive producer on the Riot MMO, you do not want people to get excited about something that's not in the works, only to let them down. Imagine if Blood Mages are not a thing and he responded with side eyes. This tweet could have blown up and people talking about Blood Mages. Riot MMO comes out, no Blood Mages, and a group looking forward to that class would be disappointed. Now, could he just be tweeting side eyes for no reason? Sure.
Some men aren't looking for anything logical. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
But I don't think so. I'm pretty sure this was done as a nod, and Blood Mages will be in the Riot MMO. So what does this mean? Is that it? Blood Mages in the Riot MMO? Absolutely not. What this means is that the Riot MMO will have a class-based system. Whether you have a single class that you select at character creation like World of Warcraft, which I think is the better option, or they do like Final Fantasy where you swap between classes known as jobs in that game, or something completely different that we have no idea how it works. Either way, it's going to have classes, and one of them will be a Blood Mage. And with that, we can speculate on what classes will be coming throughout Runeterra based on the lore. Now, I do have a video covering the zones I think will come at launch, and I don't think we'll be getting every zone, but I also explain how just because we are not getting a zone, that does not mean their races and classes won't be playable. For example, we are very likely not getting Vandal City at launch, but I can all but guarantee we'll be getting Yordles as a playable race. I don't think we'll be getting Freljord just because there's so much lore and story there. I think it needs to be an expansion. But that doesn't mean a small section of the Freljord can't be a starting zone for Freljord players before they join the starting map of the MMO. I mean, look at this ridgeline. It's literally the perfect path. Start in a small section of the Freljord and exit at Nockmerch. Now, in terms of classes for each zone, I think we'll get 4, in some zones maybe even having 5. But where did I get these numbers? Am I just throwing whatever out there? The reason I'm saying these 4 classes is because they're the basic 4 classes that show up all over Runeterra and are guaranteed, in my opinion, if you're doing a class-based system, will be in the MMO. You got your Hunter, Warrior, a Rogue/Scout type character, and a Caster. The 5th will be some unique class that some zones will have. So let's go through the zones and see what classes could come out of each. First, let's get the obvious out of the way for all the boring people. Warriors, yeah, there will be a warrior for every zone. I think there'll be some flavor for each though. You know, Ionia, you're considered a samurai. You get a unique Ionian ability, something to do with the spirit realm. Demacia, you get some kind of light ability like Garen, perhaps it's a heal. Freljord, some kind of rage ability, same with Noxus. Piltover, you can pull out a rocket projectile. Zaun, some kind of chemtech. Bilgewater, you throw a powder bomb or pull out a pistol. Targon, depending on if you're Solaria or Lunaria, it could vary, although I don't think you'll be able to make a Targonian character at launch. The zones that I think you might not be able to make a character for at launch are Targon, Ixtal, and the Shadow Isles. Targon, possibly like how I was saying the Freljord, there's just so much there. Even though it shows up as a small section on the map, it's a lot of lore. As for Ixtal, it's a secluded jungle from the rest of the world. It'd be weird to keep the mystery of Ixtal with people from Ixtal just running around. Ixtal is supposed to be an unexplorable jungle that will literally eat you if you go too deep. And the Ixtal people do not currently interact with the rest of Runeterra. Also, whenever that expansion comes out, we'll probably get the Axiomata class, so better to save that for later. Shadow Isles are covered in a black mist and everyone is dead, with the only person we know of able to travel beyond the mist in the lore is Thresh, so that's a no. Moving on to the zones you will get warrior-wise, Shurima you can get kind of like a sandstorm-like ability. Bandle City Yordle, if you're a warrior and you train under Tristana or something before heading out to Runeterra, could really be anything ability-wise with the Yordles. Point is, every zone will have a warrior, but they will have some flavor that makes them feel unique based on where they come from. Same thing goes for the rogue/scout and a hunter. Every zone will have a ninja stealthy type class, whatever they call it, as well as a hunter. And we see how those characters might look in Legends of Runeterra. For example, just looking at hunters, in Demacia you'll play as a Green Fang Warden, and your starting pet will be a faithful wolf dog. You'll have your basic hunter kit, but then you'll also have a few unique abilities because you selected a Demacian hunter and not something else. Go over to Bilgewater and you're playing as a hired gun. You start with some kind of pistol and your pet is a powder monkey. There'll also be a caster for each zone, and those I think will be even a bit more unique from zone to zone when compared to warriors, rogues, and hunters. Noxus, we already said you'll get a blood mage. Demacia, maybe some kind of light mage. Shurima, Sandcrafter. Targon, you can get a Solari as a divine clerk or a Lunari priestess. Piltover, Arcanist, or a Zon Wind Mage, follower of Janna. Ionia, maybe some kind of spirit mage. Would also be cool to have some kind of bard-like system. Not that bard, a field musician. Basically you tap into the spirit realm to heal and do damage, and it has a musician effect to it. For Eordian, definitely a spirit shaman. I was looking at the Bone Scryer card from Legends of Runeterra as well for caster ideas. Honestly, I think that'd be an awesome profession. You kill an animal or something, depending on the animal's level, that's the quality of bone that you get, and then you carve something on that bone and you can either equip it, attach it to something, or crush it into dust, use it somehow. That seems like a pretty unique profession to me. So I think you get it at this point. Hunter, warrior, rogue/scout, they're pretty similar across all zones with some unique abilities and aspects to them based on the zone that you pick. Casters vary a little bit more from zone to zone, and then some zones will have 5 classes with a unique class for that zone. For example, since we're on Freljord, a spirit walker that trained under Udyr that's able to shift between those different forms would be an awesome class. Or for Ionia, some druidic character under Ivern or Lilia, serving and protecting the God Willow trees. These are classes that are unique to those zones and wouldn't show up in the other zones. A Freljord Shaman is not going to be playable from Shurima. And there could be a few others, but that's how I think the class system will shape out. Now I created a quest line, I showed it in a previous video, so if you've already seen it, feel free to skip to the next timestamp, but what it shows is how built out the world is, how easy it was for me to just throw a quest line together. Let's give you a hypothetical scenario. You're creating a character and you choose to make a Demacian warrior. You begin your journey in Dawnhold, a military port in Demacia, where you've been sent to begin your new recruit training. You can see the massive city of Demacia across the water. You see a few of the more senior military members riding massive Elkin, and hope you can one day acquire an Elkin of your own. You even see what looks like a captain riding something called a Ramhound. You head to the battlesmith who equips you with a wooden sword and shield you use for training. After some work on the target dummy, you begin sparring with fellow trainees, even beating a Laurent duelist. You notice another player who has made a ranger and has a faithful wolf dog for a companion. You're pretty jealous, but you chose to be a basic warrior. You like the simplicity, and you're boring. Eventually, one of the Green Fang Wardens, the defenders of the forests around Demacia, comes to Dawnhold saying that there's a dragon attacking one of the nearby farms. You volunteer to help with the dragon, but the warden laughs at you, saying that you would be eaten alive. However, Dawnhold is limited on forces it can spare due to dealing with increased activities of blood-cursed harpies near Evanmore, so they take you along not to fight, but to assist if needed. On the way to the farm, you notice a giant petricite creature. You read the message at the bottom. It says, "This protector was created by House Durand and will stand ever vigil for Demacia, protecting all of its citizens from the corruption and danger of magic." Eventually you arrive at the farm, and you help any way you can corralling the creatures and repairing the farmstead. The dragon itself is driven back and pursued into the high mountains by the senior forces. Sometime later the farmer approaches you. He appears to be slightly burned, claims this was from the dragon. He states that some of his farmhands have left after the incident, and asks if you will help him gather herbs from the forest. It's an optional quest, but you accept. You head into the forest and gather the herbs, but when you return you find that the farmer is gone, and only half of the military group is back. They state that this was all a setup by a skilled order of war mages known as the Arcane Fist within the Green Fang Mountains. The plan was well orchestrated, and they knew exactly where the Demacian army would be and where best to ambush them. The dragon was lured to the farm by the Arcane Fist, who during the chaos killed the farmer and stole valuable Demacian resources. After the bulk of the force left, and while you were out picking flowers, the Arcane Fist stole the remaining herd and fled back into the mountains. You have a choice to make. Strike out on your own for glory, doing what you can against the Arcane Fist. Group up with other players in the area to investigate the Arcane Fist camp, or join the remaining Demacian forces who plan on heading to Demacia to present their case to a man named Garen, in hopes of increasing their forces and retaliating against the Arcane Fist. The choice is yours. You have a friend who made a Freljord Spirit Walker. While nobody can explore the Freljord currently due to barbaric raiders, the cold weather, and the mountains are nearly impassable, there is a small area where the shamans begin their journey in Togogal before heading to the fields between Demacia and Noxus near Nockmerch. Your other friend made a Noxian Battlecaster and is trying out something called the Noxcrya Arena. This is the beginning of your journey. Now this is just a hypothetical story. Obviously I had to make up a couple of things like you having friends, but the other stuff is real and canonical from the lore. The Arcane Fists? That's real. The places I'm showing you on the map, those are real. The images that you saw, the potential mounts that could work for Demacia, those are real. Those are from Legends of Runeterra. We can see Demacians riding them. Now I'm not the best storyteller, but it just goes to show how built out the world really is already. There's so much lore there, you can easily put together a story like this. But what are your thoughts? Would you play a Blood Mage in the Raid MMO? Is there a class other than a Hunter, Warrior, Rogue, Caster, or one of the special classes I mentioned you would want to play? One question I get all the time is asking about the Void, like a Void themed class. I don't think we'll see that until the Akathia expansion, and I do not think we'll see Akathia at launch. However, like the other classes I said, for example Freljord Spirit Walker, which starts in a small section of the Freljord, they could do the same thing for some kind of Void themed class that starts in Akathia but then immediately moves into Shurima after the starting zone. But hey, I would love to know what you guys think. Would you play a Noxian Blood Mage in the Raid MMO since that's the first somewhat confirmed class? Massive shout out to those who joined the channel, it means a lot to me, seriously. If you like this video, hit that like button below, subscribe for more Runeterra/Raid MMO news and lore. Thanks for stopping by the Grove, and I will see you in the next one.